Welcome to Darshan and welcome to InConversation. My name is Ramesh Butani.
And I'm Shilpa Alimchandani.
And we need to talk about President Obama got General McChrystal here in Washington, D.C. and took him to the woodshed.
Well, you know, McChrystal has said some things that the Obama administration is not pleased with. And to some extent, you can understand his frustration. He hasn't really been set up for success in the war in Afghanistan. I mean, you're reading this congressional report about U.S. money going indirectly to fund warlords for security reasons. No surprises here, but clearly the people are getting frustrated, and McChrystal said some things.
You know, I heard General McChrystal on 60 Minutes. He came across extremely intelligent, and he has worked 30 years. He's been a very good soldier, and he's the man who actually set up the plan along with General Petraeus. They put this plan together, but it is now working out, and you know who the culprit is? The culprit is the war itself, because here you are fighting in Afghanistan. That's not where the terrorists are. The terrorists are between Pakistan and Afghanistan border. But here it is, we are fighting President Karzai's war. That's what we are fighting. And we shouldn't be there. I mean, $90 billion a month, folks, we've been spending, and that's been going on for 11 years. That's a hell of a lot of money for a ragtag of a few terrorists.
You know, it is a lot of money, and it has been a long time. This has become, as everyone has said, Obama's war. But what kind of makes me almost laugh reading this Post article and others about, wow, look, we're funding warlords. We're actually hiring people to provide security, which are the same people we're supposed to be fighting. This is not a big surprise. You know, who is running Afghanistan? It is not President Karzai. It is those warlords. So we shouldn't then sit back in shock that in order to get our supplies across the country, we have to pay off certain people or use certain contractors who are associated with those very warlords that we're fighting. It's a necessity in that region of the world. So, as we can see, there is no win here.
That's right. And, you know, they've talked about it. They're going to come back next July. And I really feel like they should come back. They should start getting out of there right now. We got drones. We got other things. We can hit them right there. This is a war that is created by Afghanistan politicians, and it needs to be fought by them, not us. We need to get out, concentrate on the border. Talking about politics, we must talk about Nikki Haley. She's the candidate for governor in the state of South Carolina. She won her Republican primary. Tough fight, you know, tough fight. But she won it, and just as in Washington, D.C., if you're a Democratic candidate, if you win it in primaries, it's a cakewalk in November election. Same way in South Carolina, once you win your Republican primary, which she did, it will be a cakewalk for her, unless, of course, something else happens. This woman has been going through what is your religion and all of those things that she suffered.
Know, it's really sad, isn't it, to see what people say and what accusations they throw out at someone, demeaning their character, their background, their heritage, just to win an election. And a lot of these things not being true. We saw it when Obama was running for president, and we're seeing it now again with Nikki Haley. One of the things that kind of made me a little sad was her feeling the need to downplay her own heritage to a degree in order to be a viable candidate in South Carolina. You know, a few years ago, when she was asked about her family, she explained that when she got married, they had a Sikh ceremony and a Christian ceremony, and that they were raising their children with both cultures. Now if you talk to her, all she'll talk about is converting to Christianity, and I'm a Christian and my family is Christian. So it makes me sad that I think for politics' sake, she's had to downplay who she is. But then when you see how people respond to her, you kind of see why. Do you recall when Obama was running for president, you know, everybody was accusing him that, oh, he's an Arab, he's a Muslim, his middle name is Hussein. But what I really appreciated was when Colin Powell was interviewed on Meet the Press about his support for Barack Obama. And he was the only person to say, and so what if Obama were a Muslim? What would be the problem in that? Couldn't he be just as good a candidate for our presidency? But that assumption was that if he was a Christian, he could be a good candidate. If he wasn't, he would not be. And that's my problem, is the operating assumption that if you happen to have a different religious or cultural heritage, that automatically makes you a less good candidate for
But
office.
Folks don't realize out there that in Indian culture and in other cultures, the wish of the parents, because sometimes they're the ones who pay for the wedding, they want to see a wedding according to their culture. Sometimes the bride and the bridegroom do not have that much power as to what they want. So Nikki Haley, yeah, she downplays her wedding, but you have to remember it was the parents and it was the culture that she was in, and that's how she got married. And she married a good soldier. He went to Iraq, and they got 2 wonderful children. I mean, how can you be any better citizen than that?
Well, I obviously don't support any of her policies or perspective, and that she's a Sarah Palin candidate certainly makes me a little afraid. So I've got lots of issues with Nikki Haley, well beyond whether she had a Christian wedding or not. But it's interesting to see someone rise to power despite all of the accusations people made against her and these accusations of affairs and all of that. She has remained pretty strong. As we all await the new health care plan, it's been a little disturbing to read about this report from Kaiser Family Foundation saying that some insurance companies are actually raising rates in anticipation of the new reforms. Health insurers are raising prices by an average of 20% for working-age adults who buy their own policies. That's pretty outrageous. They know the change is coming, and they're like, okay, let's hike up the rates now before it's too late.
That is true, but by the way, all these insurance companies, they get a better rate from the hospitals and the doctors. If I went in and said, I want to pay the doctor's bill myself, or I want to, pay for my surgery, they charge you 10 times more than what they charge the insurance companies.
But the fact is that they're really trying to take advantage of people, especially those who don't have policies through their employer. They're buying their own, so they're like, let's go ahead and raise the prices. Obama's trying to stop this, and I think they want to make sure that this unfair, taking advantage of people doesn't continue. But the fact that they're trying really shows you what this industry is all about. It's not about health.
It's about business. Business is always one step ahead of the government, and it shows, that's what they're trying to do. Now, this one is a very interesting story. This is from Wall Street Journal,